Never search for your happiness in others. It will only leave you feeling alone. Seek it within, and happiness will follow you, even in solitude. Those are the timeless words of the Buddha, and perhaps, now more than ever, they hold a truth we need to hear. Have you ever wondered how some people stay calm, even joyful, through heartbreak, chaos, or uncertainty? How do they smile gently while the world outside feels like it's crumbling? The secret lies not in external fixes or distractions, but in a deeper way of seeing life. In this video, we'll journey through 9 powerful Buddhist lessons, simple yet profound teachings that invite you to return to yourself. These aren't distant philosophies, but living wisdom you can apply in your everyday moments. You'll learn how to reshape your thoughts, anchor into presence, accept life's ever-changing nature, and discover a joy that doesn't depend on circumstances. No matter what's unfolding around you, peace and happiness are always possible if you know where to look. Let's begin this path inward, towards stillness, clarity, and a joy that doesn't fade with the noise of the world. Lesson 1. Return to the inner self, where true happiness begins. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. The Buddha. We live in a world that constantly tells us, have more, be more, do more. A better car, a bigger house, a new title, more likes. We're taught to believe that happiness is out there, waiting at the end of achievement, praise, or possessions. But have you ever reached something you truly wanted, only to feel strangely empty afterward? That's because the joy that comes from the outside is temporary, and when it fades, we chase the next thing, then the next. It's exhausting and never truly fulfilling. The Buddha reminds us, true peace doesn't arrive from outside circumstances. It arises from within. Inner happiness doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means discovering a deeper source of joy that isn't shaken by success or failure, approval or rejection. It's the kind of peace that stays with you when you're alone, when plans fall apart, when no one is watching. So where does that kind of joy come from? It comes from stillness. Through meditation, you gently return to yourself, not to fix anything, but simply to be. Watching your breath, noticing your thoughts, letting them pass like clouds across the sky, each moment becomes a doorway back home. Mindfulness brings presence into your everyday life. Washing dishes, sipping tea, watching the light fall across your window. These moments, when fully lived, nourish your soul in a way no luxury ever could. True happiness isn't about adding more. It's about needing less. It's not about getting what you want. It's about loving what you have, just as it is. And ironically, when you stop needing life to give you happiness, it starts giving you more than you ever asked for. Not because you're chasing, but because you're grounded. Ask yourself, what moment recently made you feel deeply at peace? Did it require money, recognition, or achievement? Or was it quiet, simple, and unexpectedly beautiful? That's your answer. That's where joy begins. Not out there, but right here within you. After discovering that true happiness comes not from the world outside, but from within ourselves, there's a natural question that arises. What do we do with the pain, the chaos, the things we can't fix? This is where the second lesson from Buddhism offers us a path forward, through the quiet, powerful practice of acceptance. Lesson 2. Acceptance is not surrender, it's spiritual wisdom. Acceptance in Buddhist wisdom is not resignation. It's not giving up. It's not saying this is fine when it clearly hurts. Instead, it's a conscious decision to stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. The Buddha said, acceptance is the heart of spiritual practice. Why? Because suffering often begins not with what happens, but with our resistance to what happens. We think, this shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't have said that. Life should be fairer. And so, even when pain visits us, we double it with our refusal to let it be. Acceptance doesn't mean you like the situation. It means you allow it to exist without losing yourself to it. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. You can either fight the wind and wear yourself out, or you can take a deep breath, stand grounded, and let the storm pass through you. Acceptance is choosing the latter. It's the quiet strength of knowing, I may not control this, but I can choose how I respond. In our daily lives, we often try to control outcomes, relationships, health, career paths, even other people's feelings. But life doesn't bend to our will. The more we grip, the more things slip through, like trying to hold water in our fists. Acceptance teaches us to hold life like open hands. It says, let go of needing things to be different, and instead meet what is, with clarity and compassion. This doesn't mean you stop trying. It means your efforts are rooted in peace, not panic. And sometimes, the hardest person to accept is ourselves. Our past mistakes, our flaws, our wounds. We wish we were more healed, more accomplished, more together. But spiritual maturity begins when we say, this is who I am right now. I still deserve kindness. One practice that helps is mindful breathing. When you feel overwhelmed, close your eyes. Inhale deeply, say to yourself, I accept this moment as it is. Then exhale and say, I accept myself as I am. Try it. It sounds simple, but it can shift everything. Acceptance is not passive. It's the foundation of all wise action. When we stop wasting energy on what we can't change, we finally have space to focus on what we can. Our attitude, our presence, our next loving step. So if you're going through a season that feels out of your control, remember, your power lies in how you meet it. Not with clenched fists, but with an open heart. Once we learn to accept life as it is, without fighting it, we open the door to something even more powerful, the ability to choose how we see it. This brings us to the third lesson. Lesson 3, reframe your thinking. Change the lens, change your life. The Buddha said the mind is everything. What you think, you become. It's a reminder that our perception isn't passive, it's creative. The thoughts we repeat shape our emotions, decisions, and ultimately, our reality. If our mind is the lens, then our experience of life is the picture it paints. Imagine facing a setback, a job loss, a breakup, or a personal failure. You can view it as proof that you're unlucky or unworthy. Or you can pause, breathe, and ask, what is life trying to teach me here? That one shift in thinking changes everything. In Buddhism, this is not toxic positivity. It's not pretending pain doesn't exist. It's choosing to respond to it with curiosity rather than collapse. To look at a wound and say, this hurts, but maybe it's breaking me open for something new. Challenges, when reframed, become invitations. Invitations to grow stronger, to soften, to release ego, or to step into a higher version of yourself. When you change your inner dialogue from, why is this happening to me, to, what can I learn from this? You move from being a victim to becoming a student of life. Think of your mind like a garden. If you water fear, resentment, or self-pity, that's what will grow. But if you tend to gratitude, curiosity, and resilience, those will flourish instead. Reframing is choosing your seeds wisely. One powerful practice is journaling. When something upsets you, write it down. Then challenge the story. Ask, is this the only way to see it? Could there be another meaning, another angle, another hidden gift? Sometimes the shift isn't immediate, but even asking the question weakens the grip of negativity. Another tool is mindfulness. When a strong emotion arises, pause and observe it. Label it anger, fear, doubt. Then, instead of getting lost in it, investigate gently. What triggered this? What belief is behind it? This space between reaction and response is where transformation lives. And don't forget the power of compassionate humor. Sometimes stepping back and smiling at the absurdity of our overthinking can be the most healing reframe of all. Reframing doesn't mean life stops being difficult, but it does mean you're no longer helpless in the face of difficulty. You have the power to choose a more empowering story. So next time you face a setback, instead of spiraling, stop and breathe. Whisper to yourself, there's something here for me to learn. You might be surprised how much light begins to seep through once you shift the lens. But shifting your mindset alone isn't always enough. Even when we understand things intellectually, our hearts still tremble at a careless word, a bad day, or just a quiet sense of exhaustion. Life doesn't unfold in straight lines. It moves like waves, rising and falling without warning. That's why the next lesson is a core teaching in Buddhism. Lesson 4. Learning how to maintain a steady mind through life's storms. As the Buddha once said, Chaos is inherent in all compounded things. Strive on with diligence. In other words, turbulence is a natural part of life, but your mind, if trained, can be as grounded as a mountain in the middle of a storm. Inner stability doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from staying with yourself, especially in the hard moments. When you're no longer shaken by everything outside you, you begin to access something unshakable within. Meditation is a powerful way to cultivate that steadiness. Just sitting with your breath, gently noticing your inner weather, without judgment or escape, helps you build a refuge within. Over time, things that used to overwhelm you feel lighter, more distant, like clouds passing in the sky. Self-discipline is equally important. A few consistent habits, like meditating each morning, going to bed on time, or pausing before reacting in anger, build your emotional muscles. They give you a foundation to return to, no matter how chaotic life becomes. Another key is self-awareness, the ability to observe your thoughts and emotions without becoming them. When you can say, "I notice I'm feeling anxious," you create a space between yourself and the feeling. That space is where peace begins. And don't underestimate the healing power of human connection. Being surrounded by people who truly see you, who remind you of your strength when you forget it, these relationships are spiritual medicine. Imagine your mind as a lake. When stirred, it becomes murky. But if you let it settle, you can see the bottom again. Clear, calm, full of quiet truth. That's what stability feels like. To maintain a steady mind doesn't mean eliminating storms. It means becoming the stillness beneath them. That's the art of spiritual strength, and it's within your reach. When your inner state remains steady through life's turbulence, you stop being swept away by every storm. From that calm foundation, a new strength emerges. The ability to face challenges without being overwhelmed, to find solutions even when the path seems unclear. Lesson 5. Focus on the way forward, not the roadblocks. Once you've found that inner steadiness, the calm eye in the storm, what comes next is how you act from that space. Because no matter how peaceful your mind becomes, life will still bring problems. The key is learning not to drown in them. The next lesson in this journey is a shift in posture. Stop focusing on the weight of the problem and start placing your energy into the path forward. As the Buddha taught, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. This isn't just a reminder to be mindful. It's a practical strategy. Because when you anchor yourself in the now, you give your mind the clarity to respond instead of just react. Too often we get trapped in looping thoughts. Why is this happening to me? Why now? Why again? This victim mindset may feel valid in the moment, but it only feeds helplessness. Buddhism invites us into a different frame. What can I do with this? What is the next small step I can take? The power lies in choosing response over rumination. Start by breaking things down. When a situation feels overwhelming, try asking, what part of this do I actually have control over? What small step can I take right now, today, to ease this burden? Who can I ask for help, insight, or perspective? This practice doesn't minimize the realness of your pain. It simply gives it a direction to flow. Imagine you're in a dark room. Focusing only on the problem is like staring at the walls, convincing yourself there's no way out. But choosing to seek a solution, even a tiny one, is like lighting a match. You might not see everything clearly yet, but now you can move. This mindset is especially helpful in everyday challenges. A conflict at work, a misunderstanding with a loved one, or a personal habit you're trying to break. Instead of spiraling into self-blame or blame of others, ask yourself, what's one thing I can try differently? Solutions don't always appear immediately, but when you approach problems as puzzles, curious, engaged, open, you create space for answers to find you. This is where the practice of mindfulness becomes more than just a calming tool. It becomes a way to gently direct your mind toward action, without pressure or panic. And remember, solutions aren't always external. Sometimes the wisest solution is internal. Letting go, forgiving, shifting expectations, or simply accepting things as they are. These inner solutions are often the most transformative. The goal here is not to fix everything perfectly, it's to stay in motion. Calm, compassionate motion. That's where your power lives. And when the mind learns to respond with clarity rather than collapse in fear, your relationship with life changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone life keeps happening to and begin to realize you are someone life can move through with purpose, with grace. That's the difference between surviving and truly living. Lesson 6. Build resilience in your mind. Have you ever noticed how some trees survive the fiercest storms? It's not because they're rigid, but because their roots run deep and their trunks sway with the wind. Mental resilience works the same way. It's not about being unbreakable, but about knowing how to bend without falling. True resilience isn't loud. It doesn't roar back at adversity or wear a brave mask for the world. Instead, it's quiet, steady, like a candle that refuses to go out, even when the wind howls. In Buddhism, this inner strength is not something we're born with, but something we cultivate through mindfulness, compassion, and the willingness to grow through pain, not just escape it. The Buddha once said, "Endurance is one of the most difficult disciplines, but to the one who endures, the final victory comes." That victory isn't about winning over life. It's about not being defeated by it. When life knocks us down, and it will, the first instinct might be to run, to numb ourselves, or to collapse into self-blame. But the path of inner strength begins when we pause, breathe, and turn inward instead of outward. This is where meditation becomes more than a practice. It becomes a lifeline. In silence, we learn to witness our pain without drowning in it. We notice our fear, but we don't let it drive us. Equally important is self-compassion. So often, we are our harshest critic. We beat ourselves up for feeling weak, for falling apart, for not bouncing back fast enough. But healing doesn't happen in judgment. It happens in gentleness. To build resilience is not just to stand tall, but to kneel beside your own suffering with kindness. And don't forget the body. Our minds and hearts live in this physical vessel, and it must be cared for. Proper sleep, nourishing food, movement like yoga or walking in nature, all these are spiritual acts, not just healthy habits. They help anchor our energy when the soul feels like it's drifting. Building resilience also means choosing the company we keep. You don't need a crowd, just a few people who remind you of your strength when you forget. People who listen without fixing, who sit with you in the dark and wait with patience for your light to return. And perhaps most importantly, resilience comes from transforming pain into wisdom. Every scar can become a story, every fall a lesson. When we ask ourselves not, "Why did this happen to me?" but "What is this trying to teach me?" we begin to turn wounds into roots. Just like the tree, we too can become grounded and unshakable, not because we never bend, but because we've learned how to rise again, with softer hearts and deeper understanding. And even when we shift our mindset and cultivate inner strength, life still asks for something deeper, the courage to let go. Because sometimes true peace is not in holding on, but in releasing the very things we thought we needed most. Lesson 7, letting go, the wisdom of non-attachment. What if the very thing weighing down your heart isn't what you lack, but what you refuse to release? In Buddhist philosophy, much of our suffering doesn't come from pain itself. It comes from our attachment to how things should be. We cling to outcomes, people, praise, possessions, and even to our own identities. And in that clinging, we begin to lose our center. When you attach yourself to something, your mind starts fearing its loss or craving even more of it. That's when anxiety creeps in. That's when discontent is born. Letting go isn't about apathy. It's not about giving up. It's about meeting life with open hands instead of clenched fists. To love without possession, to act without expectation, to give your best and release the need to control the result. Just like the Buddha once said, live like a leaf on the river, light, unresisting, flowing. Imagine holding water in your palm. If you grip too tightly, it spills out. But when your hand is relaxed and open, it remains. Life is like that. People, success, even peace. They flow more naturally when we don't try to trap them. In practice, letting go means releasing the invisible contracts we hold in our relationships, expecting others to act a certain way so we feel okay. It means showing up fully at work, giving your energy and focus, but not tying your worth to recognition or outcome. It's choosing to be present in each moment, without dragging the past behind or fearing the future ahead. Of course, this is not easy. Letting go requires trust. Trust in the unfolding of life, in the rhythms that you may not yet understand. It takes mindfulness to notice when attachment sneaks in, and gentleness to release it without shame. Start small. Let go of needing the day to be perfect. Let go of being right in every argument. Let go of the thought that you're behind in life. And with each release, notice how your heart feels just a little lighter. Because letting go is not a loss, it's space. Space for grace, space for peace, space for the life that's waiting for you beyond the grasp. But to truly let go, we must go one layer deeper, to release the very self we've been clinging to. Often, we think we're letting go of a relationship, an expectation, or an outcome, yet deep down we're still holding on to an identity of me, the one who is right, the one who is hurt, the one who needs to be seen. And it is this grasping at the self that quietly becomes the root of suffering. Now it's time to step into a deeper lesson, one that gently invites you not only to let go of what's around you, but to soften your grip on the very self that has been holding you back all along. Lesson 8, Egolessness, freedom beyond the self. There's a quiet kind of suffering that often goes unnoticed. The weight of constantly defending who we think we are, the opinions we hold, the image we protect, the feelings we identify with. All of these form what we call the self. But in the light of Buddhist wisdom, this self is not a fixed entity. It's fluid, changing, and ultimately an illusion. The teaching of anatta, or no self, reminds us that the ego, the I we try to protect so fiercely, is the source of much of our inner conflict. Think about it. How often do we get upset not because of what happened, but because we felt our identity was threatened? Someone disagrees with us, and we feel the need to be right. Someone forgets us, and we feel invisible. But these reactions come not from truth, but from attachment to the self-image we've built. When we start to question that attachment, something profound happens. We stop needing to win every argument, to be admired by everyone, to fit into every role. Instead, we begin to rest in a deeper presence, one that doesn't need to prove or perform. This isn't about becoming passive or losing your voice. It's about recognizing that you are more than your thoughts, more than your emotions, more than the roles you play. As the Buddha wisely said, when there is no one left to protect, great peace will arrive. That peace begins when you stop clinging to the idea of who you should be and start embracing who you already are, a vast, open awareness, unbound by labels. In everyday life, this might look like listening without interrupting, allowing others to have their truth without feeling the need to correct them. It's walking away from an argument not because you lost, but because you no longer need to win. It's holding space for your pain without letting it define you. It's knowing that your worth isn't something that can be validated or destroyed by another's opinion. True freedom doesn't come from strengthening the ego. It comes from loosening its grip. The less we're obsessed with defending ourselves, the more energy we have to live, to love, and to be at peace. And slowly you begin to notice. The things that once triggered you no longer sting. You see others' judgments as reflections of their own fears. You feel less urgency to be understood and more curiosity to understand. Your presence becomes your power, not your image. Because when you're no longer at war within yourself, the world outside becomes far less threatening. So the question now is, what part of yourself can you gently release today? Stay with us, because the next insight may be the doorway to the deepest peace you've yet to discover. Lesson 9. Practice gratitude, the eyes that see the invisible blessings. Have you ever noticed that the more you chase what you don't have, the more blind you become to what's already here? Gratitude in Buddhism isn't just about saying thank you. It's a practice of awakening, a gentle training of the mind to see clearly, to see what was always present but overlooked. As the Buddha taught, let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. Gratitude in its truest sense is not a reaction. It is a state of being. In Zen Tian, we are often invited to drink tea with full awareness, to feel the breeze with open presence, to bow not because we must, but because we remember. This moment is a gift. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. And in that quiet, something deep shifts. Keeping a gratitude journal, writing down a few simple things each day, helps train the mind away from scarcity and towards sufficiency. It could be the warmth of sunlight, a kind glance from a stranger, the breath still moving through your lungs. These aren't small things. These are life itself whispering, "You're still here. You still get to try again." But gratitude is not only personal, it's deeply relational. In Buddhist thought, inner being reminds us that we are threads in a vast, invisible web. The water you drink came from clouds, rivers, hands you'll never meet. The food you eat touched the earth, the sun, and the labor of countless beings. When you pause to truly feel that, a silent reverence arises. You are not alone. You are supported in more ways than you know. Gratitude also heals. When you're grateful, you're not comparing. You're not needing more. You're simply with what is. And that withness dissolves envy, softens resentment, and grows compassion, not only for others, but for yourself. So how do you begin? Slowly, honestly, genuinely. Say thank you, not only when life is kind, but even when it's teaching you through discomfort. The real practice of gratitude is not about waiting for perfect moments. It's about seeing the perfection already inside each moment. As we near the close of this journey through Buddhist wisdom, ask yourself, what beauty is here now, quietly waiting to be noticed? As we reach the end of this journey together, there's one truth that quietly rises above all. Happiness is not some faraway place you arrive at. It's not waiting for you in the future, wrapped in achievements or praise. True happiness begins here, in this very breath, in this moment you choose to pause, to listen, and to come home to yourself. The Buddha never promised a life without suffering, but through each teaching, he left a path, one that leads not out of the world, but deeper into it, a path of stillness in the middle of chaos, of seeing clearly when everything feels uncertain, of living not to escape pain, but to rise above it, one mindful step at a time. These 9 lessons we've explored aren't rules to memorize, but invitations to embody, to see challenges as teachers, to let go of what weighs heavy, to trust the flow instead of forcing control. Gratitude, stillness, compassion. They're not just practices, they are ways of becoming who you truly are beneath the noise. And if something today sparked a quiet shift in you, a new perspective, a lighter heart, even the smallest breath of peace, then carry that with you, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Share it not just by clicking a button, but by becoming the peace you long to see in others. Thank you for walking this part of the path with us. If you found something valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to stay connected. This isn't the end, just another beginning. There's more to explore, more to awaken, and more ways to return to yourself. Until then, breathe gently, and remember, everything you're searching for has always been within.